Let's Chat.
Coming up this Saturday, it's a wonderful day for music lovers, especially if you're a fan of records, vinyl. And if you're an audiophile at all, you've heard the argument about vinyl sounds warmer, it sounds more like the artist intended it to sound. And coming up this Saturday, as we mentioned, it is National Record Store Day. Ben Vanderhart is here. He is the founder and creative director behind Yellow Racket Records. Ben, good to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me how your record store came into being. What was the moment where you thought, that's what I'm going to do?
Well, you know, I started buying records probably a decade ago, back when I was in college. Actually, it's been more like 15 years now I started buying records.
Right.
And, you know, just there were a lot of records that I didn't have access to here in Chattanooga for a long time. And I left my job and started a record label to put out music by different musicians back in 2018. And a couple years later, we decided, well, why not start a record store, and we'll you know, make a lot of artist music available here in Chattanooga. And that's
Any
what we did.
regrets?
Oh, you know, there's some regrets, but I love what I do. I tell people running your own business is one of the hardest things in the world, but it's so fulfilling, it's so satisfying, and so many people get so much joy from Yellow Racket that it's hard to.
Being an old radio guy, I know the answer. I know my answer to this, but tell me, why do you think it is so important to preserve the vinyl records that we have?
There's a million different reasons. You know, I think the reason that we moved away from vinyl is because of convenience and portability. So people went to the 8-track, to the cassette, to the CD, and now streaming. But I think that there's something about us as, you know, the animals that we are, that we like physical things.
Sure.
You know, and so there's when we want to collect something, I think that's why we went all the way back to vinyl, because it's big, it's tactile, and it's a lot of fun, and it sounds fantastic.
And I like the mechanical procedure of taking an album out of the sleeve, out of the jacket, putting it on the turntable, cleaning it, making sure that your cartridge is in good shape. The whole deal. It's sort of a mentally relaxing kind of thing.
Yeah, and the music is less likely to be background music when you're listening to a record, because it takes that extra level of intentionality.
Good way to put it. Good way to put it. All right, you're a vinyl guy. I'm a vinyl guy. Name me your top 3 favorite vinyl albums.
Oh boy. All right, I know my number 1.
And the caveat is, it can't be something that's on your label. It's got to be
right. Sure.
It's got to be, you know, a huge.
My favorite albums. It could change from day to day, but today I'm going to say Radiohead's Kid A is my number 1 and has been for a long time. Illinois by Sufjan Stevens, and the third would either be Keep It Like a Secret by Built to Spill, or The Nutcracker by Tchaikovsky, because I absolutely love that.
And those records that you just named kind of encompass the whole spectrum. And that's one of the beautiful things about vinyl. It doesn't matter. Even today, if you want a Tchaikovsky, if you want Hotel California by the Eagles, or something that was out 2 weeks ago, you could pretty much find it in vinyl. And we went through kind of a vinyl desert, if you will, for a while. It just seemed like you couldn't find a good record store, and we're tickled now that you have finally got one here for us. From the technical point of view, tell me what's more unique about a vinyl record than, say, anything in the digital format.
Well, what appeals to a lot of folks about vinyl is that there are fewer steps, usually, between the original tape recording and the final, you know, output. And this would be especially true for albums made, you know, pre-2000.
All right, we've only got 60 seconds left. I wanted to jam this in. Tell me how you at Yellow Racket Records are celebrating Record Store Day.
Sure, yeah. So Record Store Day is an official organization. They spend the better part of a year orchestrating all these limited edition special releases to come out on one day.
Right.
So we're opening at 9 a.m. on Saturday. There are 388 Record Store Day titles that are all dropping that day.
Wow.
We're doing giveaways throughout the day, along with our neighbors down there on Main Street, like Poe Market and Low Main and Bark. And then we're going to do a happy hour from 4 to 6. You can come by and have a beer or a cider or whatever. We'll be spinning records and also giving away a turntable and some other cool records that night.
Sounds like a plan. I know where I'm going to spend part of my day on Saturday. Something so cool about a turntable, an album, and a good set of headphones that lets you isolate yourself from the rest of the world. Yeah. Ben, good to have you here, and I hope you knock it out of the park coming up this Saturday. Stick around. We have much more straight ahead here on Let's Chat.